is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 39 of the True Crime Podcast, Murder with My Mother, where I talk murder with my mother.
Here I am,
As
in
you
all my
guys
glory.
know, in all her glory, in all her hungover glory.
Well, I'm actually feeling quite blessed today because I do not feel hungover, and
She's
I should.
blessed.
It's what hashtag bless.
God did.
However, that has probably been one of the only times in my life that it's happened this way. Generally, I get ripped off, so I really deserve it today.
Well, you do. You've earned it.
Yeah.
So,
Earned
obviously, you guys know Mom started a new job.
Yep.
So, maybe it's just because you're conditioned now to waking up super early. That your
Yeah,
body's
and I think I'm pretty much running on total adrenaline every single minute of my workday, and I feel
super enjoyable.
Yeah, well, it'll get better. As they say, starting a new job is like one of the top 5 stressors in life. So I'm still here, and I actually feel fucking great. I might have had a mental
you have a shot of
breakdown.
your swig of your Tito's in the car. Uncle Kyle, shout out to Uncle Kyle for the Tito's.
So my brother
Left in
came
the
into
car.
town, who I hadn't seen for I think a couple years. Well, I don't know either, but and so when I picked him up, he was already hammered, and I had to either join him or be annoyed. So
you were both. Just kidding.
Yeah,
we love you,
just
Uncle
kidding.
Kyle.
But
We're
no,
really
we had a
excited.
great time, and I chose the rosé against my better judgment. But apparently, my judgment was fine because I feel fucking awesome.
Hey, there you go. Well, can you believe it's episode 39 today?
I cannot believe it.
I can't either. And I don't know. I feel like once we start recording more often, it will be like, oh my God, we're on episode 50. And like, we have to choose episode 40, which we've had a lot of people write in. And obviously we kind of know what direction we're going to go in with that. But at the same time,
We haven't made our final decision yet. So if you have any, please,
let us know.
or things to give us if you want yours.
If you guys have any info that you
or
want.
bribes.
Or bribes. Or, we always take bribes. You guys know that you guys can support us on Patreon for as little as $2 a month at Murder with My Mother podcast.
And then I won't even need to have my new job.
No, we'll just be working doing the podcast. And
Yeah.
So, like always, we do start with some current events. Kind of, are they like really current events, or are they kind of like murders that have happened around us?
Yeah, I
We
mean,
just
kind
touch
of
on them.
crimes and things that have happened that seem to be escalating like
Super.
crazy.
Yeah, so touching on that first, as we've said 900 times, at least 39 times, we've told you guys that we live in Vancouver, or we live in a suburb of Vancouver, but there have been a lot of escalating violent attacks in the city of Vancouver.
And they've been random, which is actually really rare. Like
Rare and scary.
Yeah.
Super scary. So obviously there's stuff that's happening. There was a couple axe attacks, machete attacks, just some crazy shit. So like we always say, make sure you guys are
aware of your surroundings.
Aware, and you guys are awake and aware. I don't know. Probably awake if you're outside. Maybe not. But anyway, so you guys just be vigilant, make sure you guys are being aware, because they are like, I saw one video on the news, and obviously I saw it on the internet first because everything gets on the internet first. But a DoorDash driver, I believe he was I think he was a refugee actually. So fleeing a war-torn country.
Oh, think you're going somewhere safe.
Yeah, and he was doing some kind of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the company, so I'll just say like a food delivery driver. And you see this guy, like he's just unlocking his bike or something, and a random man comes up and just stabs him in the neck with a machete. And like bystanders are saying that it's like, it was obviously very traumatic for that to happen to you, but also to witness, I'm sure. Like there was some crazy shit's been happening. I don't know what's
And
going
I don't
on.
know, like, what's up, everybody?
No.
Like, if you feel like
so
doing...
write in and let Mom know what's up.
Yeah,
Because
like, if you feel like doing anything like that lately, maybe get some help first.
well, I'm assuming that most of it's probably, like we know, mental health, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going through
I'm
it.
sure.
The last couple years have been really hard for people, so just don't fucking stab anybody. Don't assault people. Don't murder anyone. We have
rape.
enough of that. No, don't rape. Just all the simple rules of life. We'll probably try to apply those ones first. Be
Yeah.
courteous. Don't murder anyone.
Even be an asshole if you want to. Just keep your hands to
Huge
your
asshole.
fucking self.
Exactly. Another thing that happened, violent attacks. These ones were, I believe, we don't know too much about them, so I'm not going to get super, super into it, but there were some attacks perpetrated by what they believed to be two brothers, and I think that some of the victims it was domestic. I want to say in-laws. But the other...
Basically, you don't know anything.
I don't, but I
Just
kind of do.
kidding.
Obviously, because, you know,
Yeah.
when we hear anything like that, I'm instantly like, tick, 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 you know, like
Yeah.
looking it up, trying to see what's going on. That's just how my brain works. So,
You're welcome.
yes, thank you for that. But I know that these ones some of them were random also. So it's like, you know, basically this man, I think, killed his in-laws, a bunch of people involved. I think that there were 18 people attacked, and 10 of them have died.
And this was in a province of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it was in James Smith Cree Nation, and that is in Saskatchewan. And so they went on a stabbing rampage in which 10 people died, 18 others were injured. So that's 28 people in total attacked.
And it was crazy, too, like much like the thing that happened here, but on a grander scale where people were being notified, getting emergency notifications on their phone. This time, they didn't know where the people that were perpetrating the attacks were. So they actually had 3 provinces on the lookout and being notified on phones to look out for these 2 men that were attacking people.
Yeah.
Because it turned random after.
Yeah, it turned random, which obviously in the beginning was probably worrisome enough because it was killing close members of I believe it's his wife's family, which,
Yeah.
I mean, okay. That is scary enough. But then to attack
To just start
random
just
people.
start stabbing people.
So one of the suspects, Damian Sanderson, was later found dead, and I read that it was not self-inflicted. So I don't know if his brother Miles killed him.
Also, it's like killing
Because
people
clearly
as well.
Yeah, but I think that he clearly was going through a mental health crisis. I know that he was on probation. He just got out for actually attacking that same relative. Previously, he was actually, I think he was charged with attempted murder.
Yeah.
But, you know, Canada, the good old Canadian justice system, he
Yeah.
was out, and I know his probation officer couldn't get a hold of him.
Yeah,
It was
he had
just-
failed to check in with his probation
Yeah.
officer, and then he did a lot worse. After
Yeah,
that.
so he was actually arrested after he was in a car, and it was like a
chase.
but a ram, I think, and
yeah.
then he actually died in custody. So they're investigating that. I mean, I don't know if they're going to dive too deep into it because obviously, if he died,
they probably will have an independent
yeah,
investigation.
exactly. But yeah, so something else that we touched on was last time, I think. Was it last
It was
episode
last
or
time,
the
yeah.
episode before? Basically, remember we talked about Noelle O'Soup, who was a 14-year-old Indigenous girl who went missing. She ran away from her group home.
Yeah, she was the child of, I think, people with substance
Yes.
issues and had grown up with a pretty unstable life. and
Environment, yeah. And that
had trauma, a lot
Yep.
of trauma. So she left, and no one even looked for her.
someone notified her mother, which the rest of the family, I was watching some interviews, thought that was crazy because the mother, I don't think, had been involved with her for some time. I'm not, again, 100% sure on specifics, but it wasn't investigated like it should have been. And sadly, months after she went missing, she was found deceased
I think it was a year.
Yeah, I think it was close to a year also. But remember we talked about she went missing and she was found after someone else who lived in the SIR or SOR, what is it called?
SRO.
SRO. What does that
Single
stand for?
resident occupancy.
Okay, well, there was a lot of people living in this singular occupancy place.
Yeah, on the downtown east side.
Yes. So we've learned new information that she was, because like we talked about last time, there was a body discovered in this SRO, and then he was cleared out of there. But then months later, because of a cleaning team just cleaning the SRO probably to rent it out again,
Probably, yeah.
they found 2 deceased women in there. At the time, both of them obviously were not identified because of the
Decomposition.
yeah, but they found out that it was Noello soup. And later they actually identified the other woman in there as, her name was Elma Annan. So the man that they were actually found, like I said, it's kind of confusing.
The man whose house it was.
Yes, the man whose room it was. He was actually wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for drugging and sexually assaulting another woman. So the two victims, their remains were ultimately only discovered because they were probably trying to rent that room out again.
Well, and they were there, obviously, for longer than he was there. So what was the investigation like?
Well, no, that's why now there's actually an investigation
into the
lack of investigation. Yeah. So we will keep you guys posted on any of that. I'm trying to rack my brain, anything else we've talked about. And, a lot of you guys write in and ask to discuss details on cases. Things like the Trina Hunt case, we don't have anything because there has not been any movement. We talked about the arrest of Lion Cunt. Sorry, I have to say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ian Hunt, the husband, who everyone, this man is innocent, which he's not. We're going to owe him the biggest apology, but we know you're not
we don't.
Lion,
we know.
So, anyway, no movement on that. We know that the arrest was probably some kind of tactical thing. His lawyer shut that shit down. Obviously, he's got a good lawyer, right? So.
And it is kind of crazy that a lot of, I'm not sure if any of you are watching, but there's a couple Facebook groups like we've touched on before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And people follow him around. Like people run into him at the dollar store.
Oh yeah, because they think
his vehicle.
What are you doing out living your best life and you've gotten away with this? It's a total miscarriage of justice.
Yeah.
And then you see also people posting in the group like, this family member of mine was murdered by her husband and it took them 20 years to bring him to justice. We have a family member of ours that was, it's a in-law family, but was suspectedly murdered by her husband.
And it went like all the way
to Mr. Big Sting.
To the Mr. Big Sting, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with.
Yeah.
And then it was ruled that the husband that everyone knew in the family, like this man had been in our family for years and years and years, helped us catch frogs as kids. We all thought he was really fun. And then he pretty much killed his wife, and then they didn't have anything on him, so they hired the Mr. Big Sting, and then he got off on it, and then everyone still had to see him. Same thing out in the community.
Yeah, and
Uncle
I think
Ken, there he is. Like,
I also think that it's not that rare, because you have to think, like we've talked about, also when you are living in a home with somebody and you also are, you cohabitate. What evidence, unless you have a horrible, like you're stabbed or, there's blood evidence, there's spatter, there's something for people to find. This is, what if it was asphyxia or strangulation or, right? What are they going to find? Her hair? No, because if it was me.
You live in the house. So your DNA is like all over that place.
I could literally make a wig just going like this for my carpet, like just dragging my fingers. So do you know what I mean? It's like, who knows what kind of evidence they could find. Plus, he was the manager of a cleaning company.
Yeah.
So there's so many layers to this.
The vice president of the cleaning company.
It is super, super, There's a couple things I'm thinking.
Anywho, hopefully that breaks one day, because that is definitely a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. So
155%.
Exactly. Yeah. So today, episode 39 was my choice.
Danika's choice, and she's going to pretty much
run the show.
Run the show today.
Well, no. So my choice this week, okay.
It spoke to you, really.
It did,
right out of the blue.
It always has, though, because
it's
been we have a lot of weird connections to it, too. Just you guys will see, we'll get into it. But
isn't it weird how we're always connected to these cases?
Well,
like a lot of the time.
I think when your life, not to say my life revolves around true crime, but it's like
you were raised in it, yo.
Well, yeah, exactly. And again, thank you.
You're welcome.
So today's case, a couple of you guys have written in. It's been pretty, like, you guys want to hear it. And it is, there's layers. There's layers, like every case. But today we're actually going to talk about one murder, for sure murder, and the other is a suspected murder. But they were both believed to be perpetrated by the same person.
On two different continents.
And neither one of them is Canada. So we are going a little further away this time, and the case actually starts in South America.
Oh, your roots.
my roots, but I've never been there. But the best is both my children are more Chilean than me. So
The best
Who
is
knew?
that my whole family's Chilean and I'm not.
that is the best. You're the only white part of them.
Yeah.
So, but today we will be talking about the murder of Stephany Flores and the suspected murder and disappearance of Natalee Holloway. So, like I said, both of them are believed to be perpetrated by the same person, who the second time was a man, but the first time he was only a teenager. So it
Yeah.
kind of followed him around, and it really marked his life, I think, obviously.
Yeah.
So make sure, again, before we get into the episode, you guys like, follow, subscribe, Murder with My Mother podcast. So anyway, we will hop right into the episode. Stephany Tatiana Flores Ramirez, who was born on July 22nd, 1988, was a 21-year-old who was in her third year of business studies at the University of Lima. When she wasn't studying, she was also an avid poker player, and she was very well known as a close member of the popular and prominent Flores family.
I think her dad, like her whole family was pretty well known
Yeah.
and well regarded.
Yeah, so Ricardo Flores, who was Stephany's father, was a vice presidential and presidential candidate who himself was more actually well known as a popular race car driver. So he actually was the former president of the Peruvian Automobile Club and the winner of the Caminos del Inca rally in 1991.
Look at you with your Spanish accent.
It's not just accents. So her four brothers actually were really well known too. So she was the only girl out of her and her four brothers.
And the family was super close.
Super close.
Super.
Yeah, and her brothers actually had a really successful event company that they ran. I know. That's a little triggering. Carlos was looking up bouncy castles yesterday for Kiana's first birthday, and I was like, ugh, just shuddering. Yeah. There's been a couple ties to that guy lately too. So she was said to be very respectful and polite. And she was also said to be really close with her family, who knew her to be really punctual, and she was basically the opposite of what I was as a teenager. She would let her father know where she was, what she was doing, and she still lived at home. So when she never came home on the morning of May 30th, it was really out of character. And her father and her older brother, Enrique, along with his wife, were instantly worried. And after hours of not being able to get a hold of Stephany, they feared the worst and they contacted the police. So because the family was really well known, they actually, at first, they assumed that she had been taken in a ransom situation.
And that's the thing. I mean, I lived in Chile for a time when I ran away from home when I was 16. And everything is a lot different. There's a lot of corruption. There was at that time. I'm not saying there still is, but
apparently there is in South America. Every time Abuelita comes home from that's how I said it. Abuelita, every time she comes home from Chile, she literally is like, "Oh, my country! They took my country and made it a crime."
and for instance,
she says that in Spanish. By
you could bribe the police with a case of beer if you happened
to get pulled over
to
for
get
speeding.
put in jail. Not that I would know, but anyway.
Oh yeah,
so,
I've heard that story.
Yeah, you could pretty much bribe anyone, and if you were wealthy, you have to basically live in certain areas with big gates around your house, and a lot of people have security. A lot of people have dogs that they definitely don't let in the house because they're guard dogs and they're mean. And
they just don't like dogs. Apparently,
some people do, but some dogs are just there to
protect
be vicious guard dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after not hearing from anybody for ransom, they were kind of okay, so that's not what's going on. And if it has, then they're taking their sweet time.
Yeah, and they don't take their time with money over there.
No. So I think also, again, knowing the culture, they're from there, they know, okay, oh my God, you have to rule it out, right?
Yeah.
So after piecing together Stephany's last steps in the final hours she was seen, the police and her family track her last steps to an Atlantic City casino in Lima, where she was actually attending a prestigious Texas Hold'em tournament, which was part of the 2010 Latin American Poker Tour. So she was a really good poker player.
Isn't that so cool?
It is
for a
cool.
young woman to be doing that. I love that.
Super cool. I mean, if I could play cards, I can play roulette. That's only because I'm like, I'll do 14 red for $5. And then as soon as my $20 is gone, I'm out of there.
I win actually quite a bit on roulette.
So do I, but It's not
It's
ever
obviously
intentional.
the odds are 37-1 that you're gonna fucking lose. So
Well, those aren't too bad.
well, they are actually.
I mean, hey, I've heard worse. Let's just say that. So they saw her taking a seat at one of the tables. Stephany sat and had great luck in her gambling that night. She actually won over $10,000. In the video, I literally bring $40 to the casino. And I'm like,
Maybe she started with $40.
I don't think so, but maybe. Hey, here's, So they saw her in the video. She comes up to the table, talks to a guy that's already sitting at the table, probably, I would assume. They don't have audio, right? So they have to just kind of piece together what they think. Is this spot taken? Is anyone playing here? And she sat down, and then for hours, she's sitting there playing and winning, right?
With the same guy sitting beside her.
With the same guy, yeah. So as we all know, casinos have kind of the reputation to have like kind of seedy characters, questionable people that are using their facilities sometimes. Not always. Sorry to all the gamblers out there, the avid gamblers. But
I gotta get back into that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. Maybe you should just save up for a bit. And, just hoard your money. That's what I'm gonna do. So in the video, they also see Stephany get up at the end of the game and leave with this man.
Oh.
So when Stephany had been missing for 3 days, the casino provided the police with the name of the man after they ran his player card. The name of the man sitting next to her was Joran van der Sloot.
Oh.
So police obviously kind of put two and two together. If they're being seen leaving together, they can track
it's
the
last
video.
person that saw her, so that's a very important part of any
Maybe
case.
he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Maybe Joran's innocent. Probably fucking not. Anyway, so police tracked down the location of Joran's hotel room and he was registered in room 309 at the Hotel TAC in the Miraflores district of Lima. He had prepaid for 2 weeks when he checked in 4 days earlier. Sadly, on June 2nd, upon entering his hotel room, a hotel employee sent to do a check of the room made the horrible discovery of Stephany's lifeless body. There, under a blanket, Stephany's horribly beaten body was dead on the ground. She had visible, severe head trauma that caused a cerebral hemorrhage. She also had a broken neck and a cranial fracture.
Oh.
There were also signs of asphyxiation. A tennis racket was also found and believed to be one of the murder weapons. So clearly, we've discussed it.
That was overkill,
Overkill
terrible.
as fuck. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was super, super, super overkill. It was clearly a crime of passion. We talk about that all the time. Crime of passions usually are something where someone does it with their hands, and a lot of times, stabbing. That's how they kind of know most of the time. If somebody is stabbed over a certain amount of times, it's usually somebody that they're familiar with.
Yeah, someone that has a lot invested.
Well, because nobody can piss you off as much as somebody that you're close to, right? So
That gives me the shivers.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But yeah, this guy obviously wasn't close with her. They didn't know each other.
They just met.
Yes, but something clearly, and once we get into the rest of the case, I think it's pretty easy to see that what set him off,
Yeah.
So the sister-in-law of Stephany, Enrique's wife, who we discussed earlier, she was given this man's name. And at this time, they don't know about the discovery of the body. But they're given her the name of Joran van der Sloot. And, at this time, it was 2010. So what do you do in 2010? You punch someone's name into Google. What do you do when you're going to go on a date with somebody? You punch their name into Google. I don't know if people do that. I do that. And Stephany's sister-in-law does that.
I take it one step further and
stalk their whole family.
No.
I'm just kidding.
That as well, but I also go on the CSO and check.
Oh.
Yeah.
One time I found my grandma on there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. My grandma does not speak English.
Don't even
I'm not gonna. Yeah. Anyway, so no one will know what grandma is now.
If you don't know what the CSO is, it's
don't
the
tell.
court records.
Just don't tell.
Yeah.
Just don't tell. Because Miko's listening to this.
Yeah.
So anyway, Joran, when she Googled his name, the stuff that came up was crazy. So Joran now obviously is this mystery man in this case, but he wasn't a mystery to anybody because anyone that knew him or knew his name or watched any kind of Dateline, Nancy Grace,
the news even. Like, it was all over mainstream news for so long.
Yes. Yeah. Then everybody knew. Because you know what? This wasn't the first girl that he met at a casino to never be seen alive again. And in fact, really creepy, 5 years to the exact day. So the exact day, this was May 30th.
It gives me goosebumps.
Was the day that Joran became and remained the prime suspect in the disappearance and suspected murder of Alabama teen Natalee Holloway, whose body has still not been found to this day, 2022.
In Aruba.
In Aruba.
Yeah.
So Natalee's disappearance, Mom, do you want to read some of it? Or do you?
No, you just keep going. Right. You're doing a great job.
Natalee Holloway was born on October 21st, 1986. The 18-year-old recent graduate grew up in the Birmingham, Alabama suburb of Mountain Brook. So it looks to me that Mountain Brook was kind of a bougie, very church going, you know, like
they were very well off. Like they had nice cars. The family was pretty stereotypically like perfect. It was her mom's second marriage. She seemed to have lots of friends.
Yeah, and she apparently was actually very, like she was a dancer, so she was in like this dance group. But she didn't. She said that she didn't party ever.
She was going to be a doctor.
Yeah, she was going to go to med school. She was actually going on a full ride scholarship, full academic scholarship. But she was said to be kind of naive in the sense of she didn't have a whole lot of course, she just turned 18, you know? She didn't have a whole lot of life experience, especially with partying and alcohol and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she was the oldest child of Dave and Beth Holloway, who divorced in 1993, and she had a younger brother named Matthew. So like I said, the church was a very big part of her life.
She was wholesome, like very wholesome.
She was. And even just videos you see of her, it's like she's such a sweet girl. Like I forgot what her
nickname was. Hootie Hoo Holloway.
There you go. And she even was like Hootie Hoo. You know, she literally
that video. If you look it up, like she's like, "Who we talking to?" And she says, "Hootie Hoo."
Yeah.
And so it's really cute.
She was. And her family. It actually seemed that. I mean, obviously we see what we see, but now given the circumstances, but the mom and the dad had been divorced and both remarried when the kids were pretty young.
Yeah.
So they had a pretty good unit. The dad said that the last time he saw her was the night of her graduation, and he didn't even want to.
They were going on a graduation trip, and he didn't even want her to go.
No, he gave her the check, I think, that night.
That was the last thing he ever did, and the last time he saw her was after that night of her graduation. He said, I'm against you going on this trip. When I graduated, we just basically went out for dinner, but here's the check for you to go on the trip.
Yeah, and so the thing is, on May 24th, that's when because this had been planned for months, but like I said, she had asked her parents, can I have money? So Aruba is a island, I'll touch on that, in the Caribbean. And the thing about that island is their drinking age was 18. Maybe it was 14 or 15. Actually, how old was I when we went there? 16?
So, this is the connection. Are we going into the connection?
Not yet. Okay. Not yet. Well, we can. But let me just get into Aruba first. Okay. So, May 24th, 2005, Natalee goes on a trip with 125 of her graduating classmates to Aruba. There was like 7, I think. There
was
people.
Four chaperones.
Oh, that's
and there was no checks done on anything. But you have to think they were really all of age there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and Aruba's fun.
Yeah, Aruba is really fun, except for when you spend the whole time calling your boyfriend.
But you were blackout drunk, so you don't even
blackout drunk because
because you were 15.
But
so
I got
not?
It wasn't like a $1,500 phone bill or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I had to lie and say the phone just kept calling him by itself.
That was a lie?
Yeah. What the fuck?
Oh my God, I'm so disappointed. You're fucking grounded.
I lied about everything I could get in trouble for. What do you even mean?
I believed you on that one. I stuck up for you.
Oh, God, you got to learn your lesson, Christina. Anyway, no, now totally. Like, if I said something to you, like, it's dead ass. Like,
fuck you. I don't believe shit you say.
Anyway, so, like I said, It was a beautiful island, and it was even more beautiful to a graduating class because the drinking age was 18. And you have to think, by the time you graduate,
And
everyone's
they don't
18.
care there how old you are.
Oh, they don't give a fuck. Because, like I said, I was blackout drunk, and I was 16, I think, when we were there.
Well,
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just dating RB.
Were you 16?
Fuck you, RB. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, I was 16. But anyway.
I think that I acted like I was 16 the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
I had a great
She had a great time.
I barely remember it also.
Yeah, so officially the country of Aruba is actually a constituent country of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which was really confusing to me because I had no idea about Aruba and thought everyone maybe spoke Spanish. So I thought I could probably get by, but people did speak Spanish. So people there speak, it's called papiamento, which I believe is kind of like a...
It's like a mixture.
Yeah,
It's like
their native language.
Yeah.
Before
But it's
the
a
Dutch
mixture of a
infiltrated
bunch
or
of
whatever.
different ones, and
Yeah.
like I do speak fluent Spanish, and I could understand some stuff, and then some stuff just appeared to be English, and then but
Yeah.
it was a very cool culture.
It was super cool. And so they speak Papiamento, Dutch, French, and Spanish. And most Arubans actually speak at least 4 languages.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Americans there.
And sidebar, you can actually go and do med school in Aruba in half of the time
Yeah.
that it takes to do it anywhere else and live in paradise, but you probably don't have any fucking time to do anything cool. But
You're in med school?
yeah, and
Alex
it's
should do
really
that.
expensive. I tell him, like, you want to go? I'll be your caregiver. Like, I don't know, just yeah. Yeah.
He's also 23 years old. He
Yeah,
probably doesn't need a
whatever.
caregiver. But he probably does. Maybe he needs 2 caregivers. Maybe he needs me to come too. Yep. So,
You come with a lot of baggage, so
AKA my children.
yeah.
Yeah, well, true. Aruba is only 19.6 miles long and 6 miles across. And there's only 100,000 people there. So anyway, basically on the 30th, so she was there on the 26th. On the 30th, she was supposed to come home. But her mom received a call saying that she didn't show up for her flight. So instantly they're panicking. Instantly, obviously, they know something's wrong. Like we touched on, she was very...
Yeah, like super, super, super innocent, and like now she's not on the plane.
And all her stuff's still in her hotel room.
Yeah.
So she obviously didn't come back. So her mom right away flew to Aruba and her dad and a couple other parents because they were like obviously going to be there for the mom and
That's so
the dad.
awesome,
It is,
really.
yeah. Horrible situation to be in, but if you got good friends, I mean, that makes everything a little bit better. So when they got there, the police said to her, this happens all the time. She'll probably just show up.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we know her. She wouldn't do this. Very out of character. So they actually found footage of her in a casino at the hotel she was staying in. She was staying at the Holiday Inn, the resort there.
So we went to that casino also.
Only to look for
Yeah.
Natalee because, like I said, this whole case was everywhere pretty much until Hurricane Katrina kind of took over.
Yeah.
Obviously, because then that was everywhere. It was everywhere.
And so what was the time frame? Because I don't remember, like
We
from
were
the
there in
time
2008,
and this all went down.
2005.
Okay, so
she-
it
there
still
still
was.
missing posters of her. Remember when we
There
were
was,
out?
yeah.
So, like I said, there they found footage of her in a casino, and at the table, lo and behold,
Dun,
was
dun, dun.
Joran van der Sloot. So he was known on the island to be kind of like a party boy. And he was only 17 years old, and he was known to actually frequent the casinos, which I don't know how old. Maybe they
It's
don't have a
18.
gambling age.
It's 18 because when we went there, your stepsister at the time, God rest her soul. She's still alive, but I've never been a fan.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was allowed to gamble, but you guys were not.
okay.
But I'm sure if you did, it probably
They
would.
probably wouldn't have noticed.
No.
And anyway, so Joran van der Sloot was born in Arnhem in the Netherlands. And he was born on August 6, 1987. We won't go into too much detail about him. He's a piece of shit. But he is one of 3 sons born to Paulus van der Sloot and Anita van der Sloot Hugen. So his dad, this kind of comes up. His dad was a lawyer who, at the time of Natalee's disappearance, was actually, he was training to be the judge for the island. And it just so happens that his best friend and Joran's godfather was the chief of police
Ah,
in Aruba.
interesting.
Yeah, that also obviously kind of pops its head back in later. So his family moved from Arnhem to Aruba, and he was actually apparently an honor student at the International School of Aruba, which
And he was a baby, so he was like pretty young when they moved there. So he
Yeah.
grew up as like in Aruba as,
yeah,
as
he
an
was
islander.
a local basically,
Yeah.
right? So Vandersloot was also a soccer star and a tennis athlete, which obviously we talked about a tennis racket earlier. And his mom actually said that he had a problem with lying and a tendency to sneak out of the house at night and go to the casino.
Well, even when you saw a video of him when he was 15 years old at his birthday party,
Just like
he was like
all the
dancing with like
girls.
15 different girls and like macking the moves on them and like
Yeah, he was actually known around the island, like I said, as a party boy, but he was known to target American tourists. And there was some talks, whispers, I think it was pretty loud, that I think everyone on the island, this was around the time GHB kind of was like really rearing itself to be like it's like
A
watch
problem.
your drinks,
Yeah.
make sure you don't put your drinks down.
I still
right?
let people buy me drinks.
Well, Mom clearly didn't heed the warnings of that. Maybe after this episode, you will not let people buy you drinks.
Well, I'm old now. It doesn't matter. No one's going to be
Hey.
even trying to put GHB in my drink at this point.
Some
But
people do
maybe.
give GHB
Yeah.
to themselves, like
Yeah.
because it's 0 calories. A lot of bodybuilders do GHB.
Yeah.
Because again, there's 0 calories in it. But scares the shit out of me because it's a very fine line. I don't know if you've ever seen
It's
anyone
very
G-hole.
easy. I haven't seen anyone G-hole before.
Me neither. But yeah.
That sounded like another fucking lie.
Honestly, I'm surprised that because mostly I've told you everything I lied about, but that one I didn't think to say. Anyway, the last sighting of Natalee the night she disappeared. Joran was drugging girls and taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was him and a bunch of friends, and someone even was talking about them filming girls against their
Oh.
will when they were drunk, and because when you're on G, I think you are not, because you could literally, it's like you're drunk, I think, and you, because I really haven't done it, but you, I think someone did put some in my drink one time. I also apparently don't heed the warnings, but that's when I was 14 in a nightclub. I probably shouldn't have been there anyway. Those whispers, obviously, right away, the parents, he was spotted, the last person spotted. A girl in the class said that she had seen Natalee after they went to Carlos and Charlie's, and nobody actually saw them together inside, but they saw her get in a car with him and 2 other guys, who are the Kalpo brothers, Satish and Deepak. Yeah, so they went to Joran's house. They got the parents went to Joran's
from
house.
Alabama just showed up at Joran's house.
Yeah, and apparently, like, because there's video of Joran being like, they shouldn't have acted that way at my house. But they said that the dad was very, because now you have to think, the press is involved. There's the missing white woman effect we know is a thing, right? We know, especially at that time, I mean, not to just categorize her as a white woman, but we know that there's a million other women missing of people, like women of color, and it does not get the same
attention.
It doesn't get the same attention at all, but it doesn't get the same
conviction from people. It doesn't
No.
get the same, and it's really sad.
It is. So, yeah. So, like I said, the parents went there and they were pissed. And the mom said that the dad, Paulus, who was the judge, was very sweaty, very like, just yes, please come in. You know, you could tell, like, she could kind of read his energy, and it was like guilty. That's what she said. Obviously, she's gonna be in a place to really be suspicious of everybody because her daughter is missing. So the thing is with Joran is he changes his story a lot, and even his own mom said that he was a fucking liar. So, but
Well, I just said you were one.
okay, well, that's only because you just found out that I totally did lie to you. But I was also 16, and I was in big trouble because you probably shouldn't call your boyfriend in Canada. Literally, we're probably on the phone for 6 hours every night.
You owe me so much money.
I don't think you paid for it. So. Thanks, Rick. That's the only thing I'll ever thank you for. So pretty much 18 days after. So the boys said, oh, no, we dropped her off with a security guard at the hotel. And that's the last time we saw her. So they checked into that.
Not
no
true.
footage. No footage of them dropping her off at the hotel. He totally denied it. 18 days later, So when she was missing for 3 days, actually, they searched the sand dunes that were there. The whole island came together.
They gave people the day off work.
Yeah,
to go
everyone
look for
on the
her.
island.
Yeah.
They gave them the day off work to look for her. So, so 18 days later, that's when they took in Joran and the brothers for questioning. They arrested them. There's a lot of scrutiny towards the Aruban police from the media because they were like, what the fuck? They had so much time to, especially Dr. Phil. I don't know if you saw that episode of Dr. Phil being like, boycott Aruba. Like, don't go there.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, don't go there. So the Arubans were like, fuck you guys.
They all turned, and all of the whole country turned
you,
on
Beth.
Beth
Like,
Holloway. Yeah,
yeah.
they were like, she had to leave.
Yeah,
didn't
she had to leave. I mean, she still obviously goes back, but yeah, so when they first questioned the Calpo brothers, they said that they actually went to the California Lighthouse, which is near Arashi Beach, which we went to, and that they went shark watching, and then they dropped her off at the hotel. Not true. Then they said that they were
making out.
Him and Natalie left, the brothers drove away, and she went to the beach. They went to the beach, and he was actually really
yeah, he was telling the mom like a bunch of graphic stuff.
I don't know what, because obviously she's not going to repeat it, but basically that a lot of graphic stuff.
He was calling her out her name. He was.
He was calling her out her name. Yeah, he was saying.
He was like saying shitty stuff about her.
Yeah, but then later, again changing his story, a very Joran thing to do. Oh no, we didn't even have sex. She just, I don't know what happened. So then he was released after she was missing for 96 days. So in September of 2005, he was released due to lack of evidence. And then in 2005, September, he told them that they didn't have sex, but he admitted that they initially lied to the authorities. And he just said that they dropped her off and she asked to be left alone at the beach. So he
just left her there.
In April of 2007. So again, there's all this time going, and he kind of, I remember this because you'd watch and then Nancy Grace would pop up with Joran van der Sloot, like the twins and Joran van der Sloot.
I wonder, was he living there when we went there?
Probably.
Oh my
Probably.
God.
But he was, I don't know though, because I think he went to school in Europe, and then he was like in Thailand doing some sketchy shit. But in 2007, he published a book. Pretty much it was an OJ book. Like, if I had done it, this is
what would have happened.
Exactly. It wasn't like that, but it was like him, like, oh, I see this as an opportunity to clear my name.
And wasn't it called Murder Made Me Famous or something?
Something like that. I don't really know. But there was no more leads until 2007 in November, where actually him and the brothers were all rearrested. So they were rearrested for suspicion of involvement in voluntary manslaughter, causing serious bodily harm. But again, that same day, they were released without charge. It's like, why arrest them if you don't know,
Yeah.
Good lawyers. I always kind of attribute it to a good lawyer. And obviously he had the best fucking lawyer because his dad was the judge, and his uncle or godfather or whatever was
the chief.
That's like an uncle by choice, Like,
yeah,
it's like
it's
like if Auntie Catherine was the chief of police, and I was like, oh, she didn't do it. Like, it's like no one's gonna believe you. So in 2007, in November of 2007, sorry, I said that backwards, there was a boat search where in a crab trap they found a piece of fabric. Basically, this poor family, because they don't know where she is, and it keeps coming up every couple years.
And every time, like I've seen that they have looked everywhere. Like they've dredged
ponds,
swamps and ponds and done searches. And every single time they've done this, the media frenzy that whips up must be just so terrible for the family, because they'll say, like, Nancy Grace will be like, today they're dredging the pond on the South Island, and we're probably going to find Natalie today. And like that, imagine living through that when your baby is missing for
it's
that
horrible.
long of a time. Like, that's terrible. And they never have found her.
No. And in December of 2007, the Aruban prosecutors announced that they would just close the case without charging anyone with a crime. So that has to be heartbreaking,
maddening,
right?
Yeah.
But in 2008, an undercover operation organized by crime reporter Peter DeVries showed a video of Joran admitting to being there when Natalie died.
Oh,
he said that there was
actually
some GHB in her drink, and then she basically had OD'd, and they were making out, and all of a sudden she started foaming, which honestly I think that this is probably what happened. I mean, who knows? But if you're going around drugging girls, you don't know, like, do they have a heart problem?
And like you said, like we've both heard, like GHB is a fine line. Like there's no way to measure the effect that it's going to have on each individual's body.
No. And you don't know how much someone's pouring in there or putting in there or whatever, right? So there was a video of him saying that she overdosed. He called a friend. They threw her body into the ocean. So we know, you remember Baby Beach?
Yeah.
So it's like under a reef, there's like a big undertow. And locals know that they don't even go over there because it's like you pretty much will get sucked under and never found again. Because there's a lot of, it's tropical. We went there. We went scuba diving there.
We fed some fish.
Yeah. So he said that. But then it's like, okay, he's just admitting this stuff on camera.
Undercover camera.
But then he says, no, I just told him what he wanted to hear. He always gets out of it somehow.
This slimy motherfucker.
He is. Joran. November 2008, Fox News aired an interview with him where he said that he actually sold Natalee into sexual slavery. He literally sat down and did an interview like that. It's like, who? Anyway, wasn't true. He was also just saying there, I think at this time, because you have to think, he's marked by this, right? So his whole life is he's Joran Van. Everyone knows who he is.
Well, and he liked that. I mean, he kind of seemed to
he played it.
Yeah.
He played into what people thought about him.
And sick people were attracted to him because of that.
Yeah, but that's always what we see. So in 2009, there was a Lifetime movie release called Natalee Holloway, which was based on her mom's book. And meanwhile, Joran was in Thailand and he was gambling, partying, and apparently he was also being investigated for selling girls into sex slavery. So, it kind of makes you think, like, is Natalee alive? But who knows, right? So in February of 2010, Paulus van der Sloot, the dad of Joran, passes away. He had a heart attack while he was playing tennis. And Joran returns to Aruba basically to be with his mother. And his mother said that he had like severe mental health problems, because you have to think, what's not good for mental health? Probably partying and doing your body weight in drugs and alcohol for years, right? Trying to kind of, because like I said, if he really was just there, he was doing nefarious shit with girls and drugging them, but I don't know. Who knows? Was his intent to kill this girl? Did he get caught up and then now it's like, now I'm going to play the role of this villain?
Yeah.
There was talk
to think about.
There was talk that his father actually was one of the people. Basically, what happens, and this comes out later because when he returned in 2010 to Aruba, he met this man named John Ludwig, and he comes back too, and they became really good friends. So I'll come back to John Ludwig in a minute. But so in March of 2010, van der Sloot contacted John Q. Kelly, who was Beth Holloway's legal representative, and said, I will give you the location of Natalee's body and the circumstances of what happened to her for an advance of $25,000. But in total, I want $250,000.
Oh, my God.
And you have to think how I would pay $1 bajillion for anything like that. God forbid that ever happened. But you would give everything to know what happened, even if you never find a body, to just know what happened, which who knows with this fucking guy, obviously. But so in May 10th, van der Sloot accepted the sum of $15,000 by wire transfer.
Oh, she gave it.
She did, because she's
that's so
she's
sad.
desperate. So it got deposited to his account in the Netherlands, and he was pretty much videotaped by undercover investigators in Aruba. And van der Sloot told Kelly that his father buried Holloway's remains in a house under this foundation. And then they later found out that wasn't true, because the house wasn't even built at that time. So guess who's being extradited and charged with extortion and wire fraud? Joran van der Sloot. Because, like, you don't think you can victimize this family enough? Like, leave the fucking Holloways alone.
Yeah.
So where did he go? He fled. And where do most people flee to? South America. We know
Carmen Sandiego.
There you go. I was thinking the Nazis, but yeah, you're right. Carmen Sandiego probably did flee to South America. Where did you go when you ran away?
South America.
So going back to, now we know he is in Colombia first. This is May 2010, and we know what happened on May 30th of 2010. So after the police obtained footage of Joran with Stephany, they see footage of him actually, both of them leaving that casino, going to his hotel, walking in to the hotel.
This was creepy. Like the footage was everywhere, and it was so creepy.
So you see them walk in, and then you see him leave hours later, go out
by himself.
But he comes back with 2 coffees and pancito, which is like bread.
Yeah.
So he comes back in, and then you see like a couple hours after that him leaving by himself, and he never comes back. So he fled, obviously. So now they know that they're on the lookout for him, but Stephanie's car was actually found near the hotel, abandoned, and it had no money in it, which her family said she always kept money in it.
Well, she won $10,000.
Yeah, there were all her cards, her credit cards, everything, her watch, her ID, her jewelry, everything was missing. And there was GHB in the car. So they don't know because, again, some people voluntarily do that. So they don't know, and you can't say.
That's something they can't prove.
Right, that's something that they can't prove. But they basically said he's on the run, and they tracked him down in Chile. Comes back to Chile. So he made his way down to Chile. And
everything comes back to Chile eventually.
It does. So, so basically they find him in Chile. He has all these naval maps. He had a laptop. He had foreign currency. Like, he was pretty much planning to run and never be found again. He had dyed his hair this ugly, remember, like that orangey, brassy color.
Sun in. For those of you that are old.
Sun in, there you go. Remember one time I squeezed a lemon in my hair and went a super weird color. So as soon as they arrested him, an interrogation took place, and he claimed, I'm innocent. And he actually, because Peru has leniency laws against crimes committed under
an act of passion.
Or while you're intoxicated.
Oh.
Which is probably because all the South Americans are like me when they drink, and they all do stuff when they're, I don't know, sorry, South Americans. Yeah, I am half, but I don't drink. I haven't drank for 8 years.
Danica doesn't drink anymore because of what she turns into when she drinks.
Because I've probably talked about this before, but I'm pretty green, if you know what I mean. I do not do that because I don't know what I do when I drink, and it's not always nice. And the next day when you wake up, it's like, imagine if I woke up and I killed somebody.
When your whole family is like abused when you wake up.
And all my friends. Yeah. So it just wasn't for me. Wasn't
for any of us.
It wasn't. So everyone is very happy that I don't drink, but I can understand doing something, and maybe this is kind of, I don't know. I obviously can understand when people don't remember what they're doing, right? So he pretty much said that, because he did then admit it. He said, I went to get us some bread and some coffees, and I came back, and she was going through my laptop, and she asked me if I was involved in Natalee Holloway. I got an instant message calling me. I think he said someone called him Mongoloid or something like that. Anyway, and she hit him, and he lost it. He beat her up, beat her to death. He said then he tried to strangle her to make sure she was dead, and he fled. So the thing is, too, there was a slight trace of amphetamines in her system. Like, maybe they got some coke and they were just partying, because actually she identified as a lesbian. Like, she didn't even like guys.
And he's not anything to look at.
No. So a trial finally started on June 11th and lasted until it started and ended on January 11th, 2012. So he was found guilty of murder, and there's 3 judges that come to the decision, not a jury. So all 3 judges found him guilty. He was sentenced to 28 years of imprisonment in a Peruvian maximum security prison and has to pay the family $75,000. Coincidentally, in Alabama, just the next day, on January 12th, 2012, a judge declared Natalee deceased.
Oh.
But anyway, in 2017, I think it was 2017, John Ludwig, who we talked about, he was staying with this guy named Gabriel. I don't know, it's so weird. There was a special on it. And I watched it thinking like, oh my God, they're going to find Natalee Holloway. And then I was like, how could I have not seen this already?
Yeah.
Anyway, John Ludwig, long story short, he said, I met Joran when he came back to Aruba in 2010, which we know is true. He told me, we got really close, and one day we were watching the Natalee Holloway movie. Why the fuck would you watch that with Joran van der Sloot? This guy was really fucking crazy. So he says, we were watching it, and Joran was saying to me like, oh, that's true. Oh, that's bullshit. Oh, this is how it really happened. He said he put in, he got the bartender, if you order a certain drink, which I've heard this before, they'll put G in it. So he did that. They were making out on the beach. She started foaming at the mouth. He called his dad, and his dad came, said, "We will never talk to anyone about this again. I'll deal with it." And it was never brought up. And then obviously we know what transpired after. But then he said, when his dad died, because that's why he was back in Aruba, he said to John Ludwig, because I think he knew this guy was fucking crazy, but I don't even know if this happened. I don't think it did, but who knows. "I will give you $1,500. Probably I would ask for more.
Yeah.
If you go, and I'll tell you where my dad buried her, but can you go move her body and cremate her and spread her ashes?" Anyway.
And so does he say he did it?
He says that he did it, yeah. And then he even says it to the police. Everything, he gives them these bones. They test the bones. It's animal bones. It's just like this whole special for no reason. And this poor man, the poor father is like, is just so emotional, obviously, right? Just like the mother and the father, they're both just looking for answers.
That's the thing, like to get this dredged up over and over and over with all these conspiracy theories, and then the media shows back up at your house, and then all of this shit gets reignited.
Crazy. Anyway, John Ludwig was actually murdered because he was trying to kidnap a girl he was stalking, and she got the knife away from him and stabbed him to death. So he probably was. If you Google him, he's a fucking crazy motherfucker. But anyway, so in March of 2014, the Peruvian government announced that Vandersloot would face extradition to the U.S. in the year 2038 to face his charges of extortion and wire fraud after completion of his 28-year sentence in Peru for the murder of Stephany Flores.
I look forward to that day.
Me too. He got married to some lady that sold stuff in jail. Yeah.
So like a co-ed jail?
No, she went in there to sell stuff. Yeah, like, and she looks like someone you would believe to go into a jail and sell stuff in Peru. Use your imagination. But in February of 2016, which this is the most recent thing that has happened, there's an undercover reporter. All these fucking undercover people. 2016. An undercover reporter filmed Vandersloot confessing to Natalie's murder.
In jail?
Yes, with his wife sitting right beside him. The film shows him in Dutch laughing about how he never told the truth ever. Kind of like how I laughing earlier. About the whole event, and that he did in fact kill her, and his wife just sat there. And yeah, it's really sad because it never brought anything up. And the mom, Beth, and I think the dad is obviously probably still holds out hope because she's never been found, but the mom still continues to search for her.
Yeah, the mom goes back there a lot, actually.
Yes.
She said that she feels like she should
connected because that's where her daughter is. She says, I don't feel unsafe here because I know this is where Natalie is. Oh, I know, so heartbreaking.
That makes me just
I know.
Really hurt.
Don't look at me. Make you
Sorry.
sad. No, it'll make me cry. But anyway, so that was the case.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy and terrible.
I mean, I don't know if we believe, did he intentionally go and sought out a victim and look for Stephany and and Stephany looked like she kind of was like, ooh, she could like hold her own. And so, I mean, part of me thinks that he was just in duress because he'd been fucking up like all these years he'd been.
And the crazy thing is that it was on the same day.
That's why it was that's why it's crazy. That's the crazy part where it's like, okay,
it's all fucking crazy, but
it is
pretty fucking extra crazy.
Yeah, but it is like, did he go into this with intent? I'm gonna murder this girl on the same day, on the same,
Yeah, we'll
because
never
he's
know.
like a twisted psycho, or it's like, did he fall into this villain character because? Plus, you have to think his dad died a couple months before, and and it's like maybe you really learn about psychology when you go through some shit. So in the last couple years, I've really learned like people are just a product of what they're going through and their environment and their trauma. I don't know if I've said that before, but
no, never. I've never heard it.
So that was episode 39.
Good job, Danica.
So
we will see you guys in a couple
weeks. And then I think after episode 40, we're probably going to go every 2 weeks.
Yep, we're going to try to.
So again, reach out
to us.
Reach out to us on all of our socials. You guys can even email us.
And remember to watch YouTube if you're just listening to us right now, because Murder with My Mother podcast on YouTube is where you'll be able to see our fucking rad faces.
There you go. And Mom, you look fucking beautiful for being hungover today. You look beautiful.
But I'm not hungover. That's the whole point.
I know, yeah. There you go. Well, that's a mind trick. So
okay, well, we'll see you guys later.
Like always, this has been Murder with My Mother. And how do I even end this? Maybe I'm hungover. Just kidding. But yeah, so this has been Murder with My Mother. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. And
Thanks
next time.
for watching and listening.
We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.